Hey guys, welcome to the Grand Canyon.
There's numerous ways to do the Grand Canyon. In this video, I'll be going over what I think is the best way to do it. You're going to want to get to the Grand Canyon early for sunrise. We stayed in Flagstaff, Arizona and traveled 2 hours north to the south rim of the Grand Canyon. Our goal was to get to the entrance by 5 a.m. to give us time to see the sunrise, and with this being early July, sunrise was at 5:20 in the morning. After going through the entrance at the south rim side, we traveled down scenic Route 64 heading east for about 20 minutes towards Desert View to catch a glimpse of the sunrise. The parking lot was really big, and the perk of arriving early was that there were maybe 3 other cars. Once we parked, we then walked about 5 minutes to the overlook, and the view was spectacular. No better way to start your trip but to take in this absolutely gorgeous sunrise, and the videos do not do it justice. The best part was how quiet it was, as there was hardly anyone there. It's a great way to clear your mind and enjoy the Grand Canyon. We explored around Devil's Watchtower and found some cool spots for pictures. The tower itself was built in 1932. It was inspired by ancient Native American watchtowers and is decorated with murals by Hopi artists. Unfortunately, due to COVID, the inside was closed when we went, but was definitely fascinating to explore the surrounding area. After soaking in the sunrise, we traveled west on scenic Route 64, which rides next to the Grand Canyon. In my opinion, this is the best way to go along the route, as it is easy to stop at each of the viewpoints due to them being on this side of the road. There are plenty of viewpoints to check out, and you want to set aside about 2 hours for this route. The first you'll encounter along the road is Navajo Point, as it is just half a mile west of Desert View. This viewpoint sits at 7,498 feet, making it the highest spot anywhere on the south rim. The next available point by road is Lippin Point. This point sits half a mile north of Route 64 and is reached by a spur road that climbs 80 feet to the parking area. This point looks down over 75 Mile Creek. South of the creek is a great view of the mostly vertical 2,000-foot cliffs below the point. You can also see a region of banded sandstone eroded into rounded hills, which is quite different than the usual angular rocks of the Grand Canyon. The next accessible point by road is Moran Point. This is one of the most visited points along Route 64 and is well worth it. The point is named after landscape painter Thomas Moran, who helped popularize the canyon. And this was a great place to name after him, as the Red Canyon sits directly below the point with a very colorful tributary with deep red, orange layered rocks. You also get far-reaching views of the canyon and was one of my favorite points. Next up is Grandview Point, which is the southernmost point on the Grand Canyon South Rim. It is reached by a 1-mile side road off of Route 64. The point has a great view, but it gets even better if you make your way a little bit down the Grand View Trail. From this point, it is the furthest distance from the Colorado River, with it being 4 miles away. So you'll have a great view, or should I say, a grand view, of all the canyon has to offer. Interestingly enough, this area was the first place along the rim to be developed for tourists back in 1895, and it is easy to see why. In this itinerary, I saved the best point for last, which is Mather Point. Usually, this is the first point visitors see, but it is well worth it to do it last. You can park at the visitor center and go on a 10-minute walk to see this spectacular view. This is also a great place to take a restroom break, and if you have any questions, there are park rangers here as well, along with a bike rental shop. When you get to the viewpoint, it is quite a big area with railed overlooks built on projecting rocks, and various other points along the rim in both directions. And if you get here early enough, the crowds won't be as big, so you'll have plenty of room for pictures. Following the itinerary I'm going over, we got here at 7:30 a.m. Overall, this is one of the best viewpoints due to all the different angles that you can see of the Grand Canyon, as well as it being close to the South Kabob Trail, which is why we chose this viewpoint last. We spent about 30 minutes at Mather Point so we could make it to the hike fairly early at about 8:30 a.m.
You can reach the South Kabob Trail in a couple of ways. There are free buses that will take you from the visitor center to the trail every hour. Just make sure to check the bus schedule. Or if you get there early enough, there is a small parking lot across the road that leads you to the trail, but you have to walk down the road that's closed off to private vehicles, which will add about a half-mile hike. In my opinion, parking in the small parking lot was worth it since we didn't have to wait on a bus. Overall, walking down the road was fine if you choose this option. On the South Kabob Trail, our final destination was Point. Point is about 1.8 miles round trip from the start of the trail and has an elevation of 682 feet, making this a moderate trail. If you want to go further on this trail, you can, but most people don't since the trail down is very steep. The way down is the easy part, but the way back up is definitely the hard part. Before starting the hike, make sure to bring about 4 water bottles per person and try to go early since the trail gets crowded and hotter later in the day. We arrived at about 8:30 in the morning and the trail was shaded by the cliffs for most of the hike. You also have to be aware of donkeys because they go up and down this trail often, but we did not see any while we were on our hike. Just step to the side if you do see them. The beginning of this hike is absolutely stunning as you emerge from the trees to the awe of the Grand Canyon. There is also a park ranger at the beginning of this trail if you do have any questions. Also, if you're scared of heights, be aware that this trail is a little narrow, but it's still fairly safe. The side of the trail does have a steep drop-off that can be intimidating, but it's not anything horrible. The initial ascent down is the steepest and a bit nerve-wracking, but once you get past this section, it's not as steep. You will also have plenty of opportunities for photo ops. After hiking for about an hour, we made it to Point, which is a great spot to view the Grand Canyon and take a quick picture. Keep in mind, there will probably be a line for pictures, especially later in the day. Point is also a great place to take a break and prepare yourself for the steep hike back to the top. The way back up was very steep and took about 30 minutes. Do not underestimate the hike back up and make sure to take lots of water breaks to stay hydrated. When you finally reach the top, make sure to take one last look to admire what you've just accomplished.
Thank you for watching our video of the Grand Canyon. Make sure to like and subscribe.